calling him the Japanese Babe Ruth pretty much describes him, doesn't it? He's the best hitter and the best pitcher in Japan.
Yeah, I had to kind of in the piece say, to the effect that, like, look, I understand I'm placing a Babe Ruth comp on a guy right now, but it's the only comparison.
No, I was trying to think when you did that. I was trying to think who else could you possibly compare him to? And you can't. There is no comparison.
You cannot. He is the only comparison. There's been good hitting pitchers from the National League, Carlos Zambrano, Madison Bumgarner, what have you. A couple of relievers have taken some pinch hit at bats. That's happened, but nobody has truly excelled.
There are pitchers who think they're good hitters, like Marcus Stroman and Aaron Sanchez, who are convinced that they could,
without ever having faced a major league pitch. Yeah, I'll be fine up there. Don't worry. I'll just rely on my athleticism.
I want to talk a lot about, obviously, about this kid's background, and I mean, your story is fascinating. And basically, this is a guy who seems to eat, sleep, and breathe baseball.
Yes.
But let's spitball here. First of all, he could be eligible to come to North America this offseason, correct?
Absolutely. I believe that after this season he'll come over.
Okay. We talked a little bit off the air. He can both hit and pitch. I mean, he's really good at it. There's not.
The tools are real on either side.
Right. How would you use him in Major League Baseball? My first thought was, okay, you use this guy as a reliever and allow him to hit so he can play every day. But on the other hand, what if this guy is good enough to start, take a day off?
Yeah.
I don't know how. First of all, I don't know how you'd value this guy financially.
Right.
And secondly, I don't know how a major league team, would you kind of pick one of his skill sets, tell him to focus on that, and just use the other one? It's remarkable.
I think it's the big fear for a lot of baseball fans is that when he comes over here, some team will say, okay, you don't get to do this anymore.
Right.
This doesn't play.
Right.
You're just a starter now. Because look, I've had multiple scouts tell me that this guy's good enough to step into the front of a major league rotation today, or step on to be an everyday right fielder and a middle of the order bat who hits 20 plus home runs today. That's where he is now, and he's only 22. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. So that's how good he is today. I think it's going to be fascinating to see what teams do. Look, I talked to executives for this piece who said, we'll give him a shot to play both ways. We'll let him try because it's a once. Dave Dombrowski said, look, sometimes there are really, really rare, once-in-a-lifetime guys, and this might be one of those guys, and you have to figure it out. Every team's got their own way of, how they value a player and how they can get the most value out of a player. The way that his team in Japan has done it, and Japan's a bit different because you work with 6-man rotations. Every team in the league has an off day on Monday. So Shohei Otani would start on Sunday. He would start once a week on Sunday. He would get a day off Saturday to get ready for his start, day off Monday because every team's off, and then he would DH Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's how they did it. And he put up a monster season. No soft tissue injuries. He dealt with a blister.
And he's good enough to play in the field, though, too, right?
He's good enough to play outfield, to play right field. He didn't play right field last year because I think probably because the team didn't want him to get hurt doing it because he was the ace of their pitching staff as well. He's also their best hitter, and they play in a DH league. So when he started, on the days that he started, they waived the right to their DH and let him hit for himself in a DH league.
Wow.
So later in the game, when he came out in the 7th inning or whatever, they took a serious hit offensively in their lineup, but it was worth it to get those 2 to 3 at-bats from him earlier in the game.
How do you value this guy? I mean, if you and I are major league executives and we're sitting down and we're trying to figure out how much to pay this guy,
oh my God!
Yeah. How do we do that?
So if you're a major league executive, what's nice right now is the new CBA puts a pretty hard cap on what he can earn until he's 25, and he's 22 today. He'll turn 23 in July. So unless he waits to come over until 2019, that's when he could get that $250 million contract. Those are the numbers that were thrown around for him before the new rules were 200 to 250. So if he waits to come over, then he could do that. If he comes over next year, the max bonus you can give him is $10.3 million.
Right.
Just because of the new spending rules. So that's the way you would that's what he'll probably get next year if he does come over next year. If he waits till 2019, he can get a ton of money, but he told me that the money doesn't matter to him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't spend money. Like, he's not the guy who has like the finely tailored suits and sports cars. He doesn't have a driver's license. You know, like, he lives in the team dormitories. I mean, he doesn't. Wow. He hasn't spent a penny of the millions that he's made in Japan. So he's not really that concerned about the money. And he hasn't been hooked up with an American agent yet who's kind of told him, like, you should really hold out until 2019. He truly wants to play in the MLB. He wanted to come over after high school.
Right.
And decided not to and was convinced not to. But he wants to be in the MLB.
So I'm looking at this guy, and as you say, he could come over here next year and, you know, be subject to the new CBA rules. Or he could wait until 2019. And is that the 2019 off season that he would be?
Yeah, it'd be because he turns 25 in July. So he 2019.
It would be the year after that huge free agent class has come in.
He'd be coming in for the 2020 season.
Okay. So, you know, I'm looking at this guy. If this guy were to join this year, and that's how much, or the end of this year, and that's how much you have to pay him. I mean, why isn't every team in baseball, or is every team in baseball after this guy?
Every team.
How would he?
Right now, it's a $20 million posting fee. That's what you're looking at for the right to negotiate with him, and you don't pay the fee unless you actually sign him. So yeah, every team in baseball is looking at him. Every team in baseball is looking at him as a high schooler.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of people think he had a handshake agreement with the LA Dodgers to come over out of high school. And then, you know, the Nippon Ham Fighters ended up taking him in the Japanese draft and ended up convincing him to stay. But I mean, a lot of people thought he was going to the Dodgers for sure. And, you know, he took meetings with the Red Sox. He had a meeting with the Rangers. I mean, people have told me that any team that was actively scouting in the Pacific Rim when this kid was in high school was onto him.
Do you think, and again, I know it's impossible to necessarily get inside a kid's head after you've just spent a couple of days with him, but so if you've got every team in baseball offering him the same amount of money.
Yeah.
What do you think would sway him? And I've got to think every team that offers him money is not going to lose out on him by saying, no, we just want you to pitch, or no, we just want you. I mean, that seems stupid.
Right. I think the teams that have been tied to Japanese players in the past, so notice the teams that he took meetings with, Dodgers obviously tied to, you know, Nomo and other Japanese players, right. The Rangers with Darvish, the Red Sox with Junichi Tozawa. So yeah, I mean, and Koji Uehara as well. So I think that a team that, you know, has shown that they have been, you know, accommodating to Japanese players in the past, a team that's going to be able to give them a massive extension at some point is probably gonna play into it. You know, it'll be interesting, and I think that in a lot of ways, a team that tells him, we will let you both pitch and hit. That was a big part of him staying in Japan. So the Nippon Ham Fighters said, we'll let you pitch and we'll let you be Babe Ruth. We'll let you do this. So if an MLB team can tell him he can do that, whether that is by starting and DHing some days, whether you want to use him in like a Chapman Betances role, where he's a high leverage reliever. Right. Say he plays the outfield for the first 7 innings and then comes in to pitch the 8th and 9th. Or say he's your, you know, designated hitter for however many innings, and then you use him as a high leverage reliever late in games.
What a weapon for a National League team, right? Any team, but a National League team especially.